What would you sacrifice for your faith? A tasty treat? Your dignity? Today we'll explore two inspiring stories of young boys who did just that, showing us the power of unwavering devotion. The Miracles and Prophecies of St. Don Bosco, a project of America Needs Fatima. I'm your host, Adrian Fonseca. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In today's episode, we'll dive into two remarkable tales that showcase the character of Don Bosco's boys, their love for the Pope, and their courage in the face of ridicule. As we explore these stories, consider these themes: the power of sacrifice in our spiritual life, the importance of standing firm in our faith, the impact of proper religious instruction on young minds. And the question that I will be thinking about during this video is, when was the last time that I made a sacrifice for my faith? And stay tuned to the end of the video to discover how you can join a powerful spiritual community united in prayer for the intentions of faithful Catholics like Don Bosco's brave boys. But first, let's begin our story. In this episode, we will gain some wonderful insights into the character of Don Bosco's boys. I have two stories for you today. One will serve as an example of their devotion to the Pope, even to the point of sacrificing a very special treat. And the second story is about two brothers, one who benefited from the religious instruction offered at the oratory, the other hopelessly irreligious and schooled in the ways of the world. Don Bosco and his boys often lived hand to mouth and depended on the kindness of others for anything other than their daily bread. Any extra delicacies were few and far between. As it would happen, one day, a charitable lady donated money to Don Bosco so that he could buy the boys a special treat for breakfast. When Don Bosco told them about it, they unanimously asked that the money instead be sent to the Holy Father. Don Bosco emphasized that the donor wanted the money to be used for their treat, but the generous youngsters insisted that they would do without it, and even without breakfast altogether, in order to have the money go to the Pope, who had already sent them so many gifts. So on April 11th, 1860, Don Bosco wrote to the Holy Father to assure him of his loyalty and that of the boys of the oratory. The letter carried 710 signatures. Enclosed with it was a donation for Peter's pence, donations made directly to the Holy See. On hearing of this, the charitable lady gave Don Bosco the same amount again so that the boys could still have their treat as a reward for their love of the Holy Father. To the boys' letter, Don Bosco had added one of his own, warning the Holy Father in a prophecy that a great calamity which would shake the faith of many was about to fall on the church, and the faith would have to be defended by the blood of the bravest. He added that the Pope was not to become discouraged because Mary was preparing a great triumph for the church in the near future. These words perhaps alluded to the canonization of the Japanese martyrs. On the following day, April 12th, at the good night, after commenting on the boys' gift to the Holy Father, Don Bosco exhorted the boys always to be fearless and generous Christians. In order to encourage them by way of an example, he told them this story. Now I will tell you about a frightful incident witnessed by a whole town. Before the Easter holidays, I gave some advice to an oratory pupil who was about to go home. Among other things, I told him always to make the sign of the cross before and after meals. Being a very good boy, he quite willingly accepted every suggestion, but this last one presented a problem, because saying grace was not customary in his family, and he knew they would make fun of him. Then I said, "Why are you afraid? If your parents object, tell them that the Constitution has opened a new era, the era of freedom." This alluded to the complex political climate of Italy at the time. "All right," the boy chuckled in reply, "I'll do just that." And off he went. When he arrived home, he was warmly welcomed and asked 1,000 questions, especially what he had learned in Turin. At supper time, all sat greedily at the table without saying grace, as if they were dumb animals. Our boy insisted, through blushing, bravely made the sign of the cross, and said grace. "What are you doing?" asked the big brother Dominic, who had been poking fun at him. "Is this all you have learned in Turin? Was it worth going there if you still hang on to these old-fashioned ideas? If all you learned was being a holy Joe, you might as well have stayed home." "Dominic," the boy replied, "what you call old-fashioned ideas are religious practices handed down to us by our forefathers, teachers, and priests. They're antiquated notions. Forget them. Sit down and eat." "You are quite rude," our boy replied. "I believe in these things. The sign of the cross before and after meals is taught by the catechism and is the right thing to do. Only dumb animals eat and drink without giving thought to their Creator. We are not dumb animals. We have reason and should see God's hand always and everywhere, especially when we take the food that He gives us to sustain our lives, which depend on Him, and which He can take away at any moment." "Words, words," said Dominic, echoed by his other brothers. The conversation then switched to other matters, but things only got worse for our hero the following day. To celebrate the boy's homecoming, his mother, hardly a practicing Catholic, had invited relatives and friends to lunch. As the time drew near, our boy felt a little nervous, but when everybody sat down at the table, he did not flinch and fearlessly made the sign of the cross, while laughter and jeers rose all around him. When the noise had died down, Dominic, the leader of the unseemly outburst, derisively remarked, "Say, let's make a deal, the two of us." "What deal?" "You say grace and all the Our Fathers you want, and I'll eat your share. Then we'll see who will feel better." "All right," the boy replied. "If that's what you want, you can have my piece of meat, and I'll be satisfied with soup, bread, and cheese. Just don't bother me when I say grace. As for the Our Fathers, that's not necessary." They agreed. Dominic laughingly helped himself also to his brother's portion. Amid the laughter of his rude relatives, that evening at supper, Dominic again said to his brother, "The same deal. You pray all you want, and I'll eat your share too." "Well," was the answer, "I don't mind giving up food. What hurts me, though, is to see you so irreligious. If you don't want to practice your faith, at least don't mock it. Don Bosco told me more than once that no one can mock God and get away with it. Religion is a two-edged sword and wounds people who attack it. Don't take chances." During supper, a number of rough young men dropped in and joined Dominic in poking fun at his brother. I will not repeat their insults and the sharp retorts of our brave boy. I will only say that things got to such a point that our friend could say nothing more than beware of mocking God. When supper was over, Dominic said, teasing his brother, "Well now, did you enjoy your supper, Holy Joe? How do you feel?" "I feel fine. True, my stomach is not as full as yours, but that should aid my digestion." I'm sorry, we're all out of time, but don't worry, we'll hear more about Dominic and Joe again really soon. And needless to say, the bravery of this young man is a credit to the formation that he received at the oratory, as it is generously displayed by the 700 schoolboys, who prefer to make a donation to the Holy Father over receiving a rare but tasty treat with their breakfast. These stories leave me wondering, are there any youths out there today being similarly instructed? Or closer to home, would I at that age, have been willing to stand up to the mockery of those around me by doing something as simple as making the sign of the cross, would I do so even today? One thing is for sure, Don Bosco was using this story to teach a valuable lesson to those placed in his charge. If you're as curious as I am to hear the end of the story, be sure to check back in a couple days on the Holy Father and an unholy brother. As we reflect on the bravery and devotion of these young boys, we are reminded of the power of prayer and sacrifice. What if you could join a community of faithful Catholics united in prayer, just like Don Bosco's boys were united in their love for the Pope? Experience the power of prayer with St. John Bosco. As a monthly promoter, your intentions become part of something bigger. Imagine your prayers joining ours in our daily rosaries, your name whispered in Saturday Masses. Feel the strength of collective devotion as we unite in prayer just as Don Bosco taught. Your joys, sorrows, and hopes will be lifted up by our community, creating a spiritual symphony that reaches heaven. Want to be a part of this prayer powerhouse? Well, join our monthly promoter family today and let's storm heaven together, inspired by the prayerful example of St. John Bosco. The link is in the description box down below to become a monthly promoter today. The stories of Don Bosco's boys, their sacrifice for the Pope, and one boy's courage in the face of mockery are powerful examples of living faith in action. These stories remind us that our beliefs are more than just words. They are the foundation for the actions that can inspire and transform the world around us. And as we move through the week, let's take these lessons to heart. How can we demonstrate our devotion to our faith in the small everyday moments? Do we have the courage to stand firm in our beliefs even when we face ridicule? Remember, every act of faith, no matter how small, strengthens not just our own spiritual journey, but also fortifies the entire church. So which of these two stories resonated with you the most? The boy's sacrifice for the Pope, or the bravery of the young boy standing up to his brother? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comment section down below. I would love to read them. If this episode inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for joining me today. St. John Bosco, pray for us. May God bless you, and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.